Hello sports fans, welcome to Super Sports Central. Today we have Sports News episode 61. So starting off, we will be covering the four major sports. So starting off with the NHL, well plus college football and college basketball. Starting off in the NHL, Rangers and Norris Trophy winner Adam Fox agreed to a 7-year, $66.5 million contract extension, and it is an annual average of $9.5 million. The Blackhawks activated Patrick Kane from the COVID reserve list, and he led the Blackhawks to their first victory with a hat trick. Devils' Jack Hughes will be out at least 5 more weeks with a dislocated shoulder, and Vegas Golden Knights forward William Karlsson will miss 4 to 6 weeks with a broken foot. The best teams in the NHL are the Panthers 8-0-1, the Hurricanes 8-0-0, and the Oilers 7-1-0. The worst teams, the Canadiens 2-8-0, the Blackhawks 1-7-2, and the Coyotes 0-8-1. Let's go over to the NBA. Kevin Love was placed in the health and safety protocols. Zion Williamson is still 2 to 3 weeks away from practicing. James Harden tied Larry Bird's record for 7th most all-time triple-doubles with 59 career. Cade Cunningham made his NBA debut and helped the Pistons to their first win, although he was 1 for 8 from the field and only scored 2 points. He had 7 rebounds and 2 assists. The best teams in the NBA: the Bulls 6-1, the Jazz 5-1, and the Warriors 5-1. The worst teams: the Pistons 1-5, the Pelicans 1-6, and the Thunder 1-6. Let's go over to the MLB. So last night the World Series ended in 6 games, with the Braves taking home the championship. The Mets acting general manager Zach Scott will not return in 2022, and the Mariners will decline Kyle Seager's club option for the 2022 season. Let's go over to the NFL. Titans star running back and potential MVP candidate Derrick Henry will likely miss the rest of the regular season with a foot injury. He had surgery on the foot, and it's most likely season-ending, but if the Titans make the playoffs, which I think they will, he does have a chance to come back and play in the playoffs. And to help replace Henry, the Titans signed former NFL MVP Adrian Peterson. Saints quarterback Jameis Winston has a torn ACL and some MCL damage when he suffered with an awkward horse collar tackle against the Buccaneers in their win. He will miss the remainder of the season, and Taysom Hill will likely take over at quarterback for the Saints. And Taysom Hill has been in the concussion protocol for the past few weeks, but he's expected to be cleared for the next game. Yesterday was the NFL trade deadline. Some notable trades: the Chiefs traded for Melvin Ingram, and the Steelers received a 6th round pick for him. The Rams sent 2nd and 3rd round picks to Denver for star edge rusher Von Miller. And there were 3 names I was surprised that didn't get shipped at the deadline. One, not really surprised, but I was surprised Odell Beckham Jr. stayed in Cleveland. Obviously, Deshaun Watson stayed in Houston, and the Giants did not trade Evan Ingram, their tight end. The Rams waived wide receiver Deshaun Jackson after not being able to trade him at the deadline. The Packers released linebacker Jalen Smith after only playing 2 games with the team. Michael Thomas will miss the rest of the season. He hasn't played it all this season, and he's not going to because of an ankle injury he had surgery for in the offseason. Cowboys star cornerback Trayvon Diggs has an ankle sprain he suffered Sunday Night Football against the Vikings. And last year's NFL MVP Aaron Rodgers tests positive for COVID-19 and will miss Sunday's game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's go over to college football. BYU beat Virginia in a shootout. The final score was 66-49. BYU totaled 734 yards in the game, and there was a total of 1,322 yards in the game. West Virginia upset Iowa State 38-31. Despite the loss, Iowa State running back Breece Hall had a great game. He went 24 carries, 167 yards, and a touchdown, and he had 3 catches for 19 yards. Fresno State upset San Diego State 30-20. Fresno State quarterback Jack Hayner led them to the win with a great performance. He was 25 of 42 for 306 yards and a touchdown. Houston upset SMU by a final score of 44-37. A lot of upsets this week, if you couldn't already tell that. There's more to come. So SMU kicked a game-tying field goal, and then they kicked the ball off, and Houston returned the kickoff for a touchdown, which was ultimately the difference maker, because there was only between 15 and 20 seconds left after they returned for the touchdown. Miami upset Pitt 38-34 for their second upset win in a row. Last week they upset NC State. Heisman contender Pitt quarterback Kenny Pickett had a tremendous game. Pickett went 39 of 55 for 519 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And Miami quarterback Tyler Van Dyke also had an amazing game. 32 of 42 for 426 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Mississippi State upset Kentucky 31-17. So in the game, Kentucky returned a punt for a touchdown, and if they didn't return that punt, the final score would have been 31-10. And Mississippi State quarterback Will Rogers had an outstanding game, 36 of 39 for 344 yards and a touchdown. Auburn upset Ole Miss by a final score of 31-20. Both quarterbacks had great games, but Auburn quarterback Bo Nix went 22 of 30 for 276 yards and a touchdown, and on the ground he added 8 rushes for 30 yards and 2 touchdowns. LSU quarterback and Heisman hopeful Matt Corral went 21 of 37 for 289 yards and a touchdown, and he had 10 carries for 45 yards. Wisconsin beat Iowa 27-7. Iowa's now lost 2 in a row. They lost at home last week to Purdue, and this week they lost to Wisconsin. Wisconsin is now in contention for the Big Ten West. Earlier, when Iowa was undefeated, it was looking like they were going to run away and play the winner of the Big Ten East in the Big Ten Championship, but now Wisconsin still has a chance, and they can play in the Big Ten Championship, and I think they have a good chance to, and I think they probably will. So now, in Iowa's 2 losses in a row against Purdue and against Wisconsin, they've only scored a total of 14 points in the 2 games combined. So, this goes back to a story from earlier in the season. Iowa's winning games because of their defense, and now they've only been able to score 14 points. And so, as you can see, their offense is not that good. And we said the game would come down to who could throw the ball better. Wisconsin quarterback Graham Mertz had a better game through the air, 11 for 22 for 104 yards and a touchdown, compared to Iowa's Spencer Petras, who went 9 for 19 for 3 touchdowns. And Iowa had a fumble at the goal line that Wisconsin jumped on, and it was like at the half-yard line, and then they just got the easy score the next play. Ohio State beat Penn State 33-24. Penn State quarterback Sean Clifford looked very good in the game, although they did lose. He threw for 361 yards, completing 35 of 52 passes for a touchdown and a pick. Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud also had an amazing game, 22 of 34, 305 yards and a touchdown. And Ohio State running back Trayvon Henderson had an outstanding game, 28 carries, 152 yards, and a touchdown. Notre Dame beat North Carolina, scoring a season-high 42 points compared to North Carolina's 34. Notre Dame scored 44 points compared to North Carolina's 34. Notre Dame running back Kyron Williams had a tremendous game, 22 rushes for 199 yards and a touchdown, and two catches for 15 yards. So North Carolina's rush defense has been allowing over 200 rushing yards per game, and Notre Dame totaled over 200 team rushing yards. And it's pretty impressive when you have one running back having 199 yards. Georgia dominated against Florida 34-7. At the end of the first half, Florida was still in the game, but then things took a turn for the worst. So Anthony Richardson fumbled. Then Georgia scored on a one-play drive. Anthony Richardson had a pass tipped and was ultimately intercepted. Then Georgia scored on another one-play drive. And then Anthony Richardson threw a pick six. So Georgia is looking like the clear #1 team. And I don't really think you can argue against that because they're just so dominant. They're playing. So there's Georgia and there's the rest of college football. They're playing on two different levels. Michigan State beat Michigan 37-33. Michigan State running back and Heisman hopeful Kenneth Walker had a tremendous game. 23 carries, 197 yards, and 5 touchdowns, and 5 rushing touchdowns for one player is an all-time series high between Michigan and Michigan State. The previous high was 4. Michigan got off to a fast start. They had a quick 93-yard touchdown strike to wide receiver Andrell Anthony, who ended the game with 6 receptions for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. Michigan State quarterback Cade McNamara had his best game as a Wolverine. He went 28 of 44 for 383 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the game-sealing interception. Michigan's 5-star recruit quarterback J.J. McCarthy fumbled, allowing Michigan State to jump on the ball and Kenneth Walker to go score the game-winning touchdown. And the last thing, college basketball. So the college basketball season starts November 9th, which is next Tuesday. So that is something I'm looking forward to. And Oklahoma State will be banned from the 2022 postseason after the NCAA declined their appeal. So that is all for today's Sports News episode 61. Like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you later today for the Week 8 NFL recap.